you again to everyone joining us. We are Vida for those of you coming through Eventbrite. We are a life, health and wellness, leadership, and career coaching company. And my name is Justice, and I am a relationship strategist here on the team. And what that means is when you want to reach out to have a conversation to get a coach, life goals, career goals, whatever it may be, you schedule a conversation with someone on my team's calendar. And we'll have a half-hour call where we ask you deeper questions to learn more about you and what your goals are in the hopes that we can successfully pair you up with the right coach on our team for you. So with that being said, I am going to drop my calendar link now because it is first come, first serve. And so if anyone has anything front of mind that they love to talk about, I highly would love to have a conversation with anybody. So there is that for anyone who wants it. Other than that, today we are joined by Coach Lisa. And Lisa, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on what your time zone is and where you're located. I'm so glad that so many of you are having great weather. I'm having great weather here, and it just makes everything so wonderful, doesn't it? So we are going to talk today about LinkedIn job filtering and how you can really use this filter to maximize your opportunities and minimize that frustration of getting a lot of notifications for jobs that they're just not what you're looking for, or you're semi-qualified, but not really. So we're going to take care of you today about that. But before we get started, I just want to let you know that this webinar is not necessarily for beginners, that you do really need to have a LinkedIn profile created. And that way we can use your profile along with your job filtering tool as well. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I want you to stay and I want you to listen, but you will need to create one. And it's also not really for members who have premium. You can absolutely use everything we talk about today with a premium membership. You're just going to have a little bit more, and you might have some more bells and whistles than what we discuss. So with that in mind, I want to thank Justice, Jillian, Libby for being here today. They're facilitating this webinar, and it's because of them we're going to be very successful, and it's going to run smoothly. They are exceptional at what they do, and if we have any glitches, it's absolutely because of me. I'll tell you up front. So let's get started, and thank you again for being here today. I'm so glad you're here. So my name again is Lisa Alley, and I'm a certified career coach with Vida. And I work with clients who really are looking to invest in their careers. I've been a recruiter for healthcare professionals on a temporary and permanent basis, direct hire basis. And I've also been in the nonprofit sector as well. So I help my clients create a career strategy, and that includes resumes, updating, formatting, LinkedIn optimization, and job search filtering, interview prep, job search strategies, and my favorite, salary negotiation, because that is so important to me and my clients. So for those of you who've never worked with a coach, my role is really coaching, supporting, and advocating for you. And I gently keep you accountable as you reach your success and your goals. And I celebrate with you every step of the way. I'm also a LinkedIn nerd. I admit it. I'm a certified digital strategist, which means I have a certification in LinkedIn and how to work LinkedIn. I also belong to a monthly group, and all we talk about, seriously, is LinkedIn. What are the new algorithms coming up? What are their updates? So we can keep our clients apprised of the best ways to manage their LinkedIn profile and to use the filters so they can get the job they really want. So today, for this hour, all of you are my client. And so with my clients, I achieve my goals in 3 ways. First of all is to educate you on how you can use the LinkedIn filter, number 1. Number 2, make it so that the information you receive today will move the needle in your career search. And then lastly, and most importantly to me, is that we have fun as we do it. So at the end of our webinar today, I'm going to ask you if I achieved my goals, because you're going to rate me. So I hope that sounds like fun. So with this in mind, as we move forward, does anybody have a suggestion for a job title and a place a location that we will use in our job filters. So if so, please put in the chat what job title you'd like for us to filter and at what location. And while that's going on, I'm going to go ahead and talk about how important your profile is and just some basic overall facts about LinkedIn. So if you went to my optimization webinar, I'm going to review some facts with you. And here are some facts. LinkedIn has over 810 million followers. That means you have over 800 million opportunities for people to find you and LinkedIn and connect with you. And then 49 million people use LinkedIn to search for jobs each week. So if you're using this filter, you're not alone. 49 other million people are as well. 6 people are hired through LinkedIn every minute. It is a very effective tool. There are 77 job applications submitted every second on LinkedIn, and 6.65 million job applications are sent every day. And we're going to come back to that later when we're talking about filtering. 122 million people received an interview through LinkedIn, with 35.5 million having been hired by a person they connected with through the site. So that's another aspect we're going to bring up and talk about through the job filtering, are using your connections to get that job. And 87% of recruiters regularly use LinkedIn. That's why it's so important to have your presence. Okay, so why use LinkedIn in your job search? What benefits are there? Well, as you know, it's primarily an online professional network, in a sense, a social media platform, but it's unlike all those other social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Are there others? Twitter, right? Because it really promotes employment, either by networking or its very robust job board. So employers love using LinkedIn as well. They have the opportunity to post jobs, right? We see that. Oh, they have their own special section. They also have the opportunity to connect with potential candidates one-on-one, whether those candidates are even looking for a job. They can also use their page and update people on what's going on with their company to keep their company out in front of potential applicants and vendors. So employers love using LinkedIn as much as we, as potential candidates, love using it. And this is where they're unique to compared to different job boards like Indeed, Career Builder, ZipRecruiter, Monster, Dice. There's a lot of them out there because LinkedIn allows you to create a profile, or what we call a digital resume. And you can create that and people can even look at it before they even reach out to you. So for this reason, as a resume writer, I strongly recommend that my clients always include their LinkedIn URL on their resume with their contact information. And I suggest you do the same as well. So LinkedIn offers employers a lot of different opportunities. They also allow employers to engage with groups. So not only can they tell groups, professional groups within the LinkedIn community about what they're doing, they can also use groups to help find candidates, right? They can post jobs there and they actually don't have to pay to do that. So employers can pay a premium for a premium membership and they can have these bells and whistles included, or they can simply use a pay-for-click payment method and get candidates that way as well. So it's a great platform for employees, candidates, and companies and employers. So how does it compare otherwise to job boards? Well, it also has the opportunity for job seekers to use what we call the backdoor approach that other job boards, Career Builder, Monster, don't really have available to you. So what does it mean to go through the back door? This is kind of a very appropriate and commonly used path of how to get your name out there to other people. So, and this is what we really prescribe for our clients, and this is what you can do as well. So a couple of years ago, I had a group of software engineers who just weren't getting any traction. They were applying for positions online, but they were never getting any kind of response, and they were very frustrated. So they used this backdoor approach, which means they applied for a position on LinkedIn. Once they applied, because they weren't hearing back, they would go to the company's page. They would look to see whether they had any connections already. So they would look to see if they had any alumni or any current or prior colleagues that used to work there, because it would come up. They would search for that. And then they would reach out to somebody, a former alumni, a colleague, and they would ask for an informational interview. So they applied, they searched, and then they reached out for an informational interview, which is basically, I applied for a position with your company. I would love to hear more about it and talk to you for a few more minutes. And the goal is to try to get that person, tell you about the position, but also ask for your resume, because we know that recruiters are more apt to look at internal resumes first through referral, then through the massive amount of resumes that come through the applicant tracking systems when they post a job. And that's how they ended up getting a job. So all of them. So it's a very appropriate, commonly used way through LinkedIn to get a job after you apply for a position, is to go through the network route. So it's something that you definitely want to keep in mind. And other job boards, just because of the way they don't have that networking component, really can't do for you. So let's talk about your LinkedIn profile very quickly, because there are components to it that are going to be very important in your job search filter. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, fantastic. So let's talk about the components of your profile now, which is really going to help with your job search when you are searching and using filters. So the first thing to consider is, and I'm going to scroll down, trying to go slowly because I know that it's uncomfortable to some people. Your experience. If you are no longer employed with your company, go ahead and put that end date. It's okay. You want your profile to be updated. And also, if you're no longer there and you're currently not employed, a recruiter, once they go through your resume, they're going to reach out to you perhaps sooner, because they know you can start sooner, right? You don't have to put 2 weeks notice in. So make sure all your components of your profile are updated, which means as we move up, that your headline really reflects on where you are now. Those keywords, those job skills, those job titles, they're very current, right? We don't want people to look at your profile and see what you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. It's also a good idea. It's not going to help you get a job, but directly, but it's time, if it's been a while since you updated your profile picture, now's the time to do it, right? If it's about 15, 20 years old and you may look a little bit different, go ahead and update that as well. But where we're going to have direct impact from your profile is with your number of connections. And I hope you can see here, I have 500 plus connections. Once you hit 500, this is what people see. Otherwise, before that number, you can see the exact, and everyone else can see the exact number. Not really relevant. It's just a data point. So how many connections should you have? And 500 seems to be that magic number. It kind of creates that critical mass connection, right? You kind of hit that critical mass because you've got so many connections now, so many people you're connected to. And then not only do you have 500 now, you can tell with me after 500, I have 842. But now what you also have, if you come up here and you see people, these are all my 842 first connections. But when you click on this arrow, you can see your second connections, which are essentially your first connections, right? So you're creating a ripple effect. So here are people, these people are my first connections, and they know this person. So I could ask Starla or Chris if they would refer me or make a recommendation to Whitney if I want to talk to her about a position at Indiana Youth Institute. Is that making sense? How this ripple effect, this opportunity to have more and more connections based upon the number of your first connections. So that's why it's important. And it's also going to be directly related to how you search when we go to filters. So a lot of my clients ask me, well, who do I connect with? If any of you out there don't have that 500 connections, how do you get there? Who should you target? What does that look like? And maybe you're not an extrovert. Maybe this is something that you're not comfortable with. So here's how you can start. And you don't have to have 500 connections tomorrow. It's something you can work with over time, but start with who you know. Start with those former and current colleagues, right? They're pretty much know that they're going to connect with you. And then go to your former and current classmates. It doesn't really matter how many years ago you went to school or had a relationship with them. Reach out to them. Again, the data tells us that they're more apt to go ahead and connect with you. And then, of course, family and friends. They'll connect with you. And then you expand out to your professional acquaintances. Who are those people that you meet at seminars or a webinar today, in fact? Or if you are a client of ours, we have a Slack channel connecting with people for LinkedIn from the Slack channel. There are so many different ways to connect. In fact, a very easy way to connect on LinkedIn is through groups. I'm going to take you back and we're going to look at groups because groups have so many benefits. And I'm going to go slowly as I can to get to the groups because they are located at the very, very bottom under interests. So you have influencers, companies, and then you have groups. So I'm involved with a total of 45 groups. I try to make those groups around 20,000 and up, though some are just very specific. But here's the thing, when you join a group, you get notifications when people post in the group and they go on your timeline. And these are great ways to reach out to people. For career service professionals, I could reach out to 23,000 people if I wanted to and ask them to connect. And they most likely will because I'll remind them we're in the same group and I'd love to connect with them. It's that easy. So we've talked about LinkedIn and your profile and how that really benefits you in terms of connections. And now we're going to apply it to how it connects to your job search and the filtering part of LinkedIn. But before that, I want to share something with you. And it's called the 70-20-10 concept. And this is a concept that we use in outplacement coaching. And our industry data shows that 70% of job applicants will find a job through their network, either how it is currently, creating a network if they don't have one, or expanding their network. That's how 70% of the people get a job. 20% of the people or the job seekers will get a job through preparation. That includes researching job trends and salaries, upskilling or earning certifications if they find that they have gaps in their skill set, and also including 7 to 10 companies that they can identify as great places for them to work, whether these companies have openings or not, and we're going to use these companies in the job filters. Only 10% of job seekers will obtain employment solely through a job board. And I know what you're thinking. You probably have gotten a job through a job board, and I have too. But this is some LinkedIn data I want to share with you. LinkedIn tells us for every Fortune 500 company that posts a job, about 200 people will apply, 4 to 6 will be invited to interview, and 1 will be hired. So it doesn't mean that you can't get a job through the job board, especially if you're in a very narrow niche industry or profession. What it means is you're probably going to have to spend a lot more time sending out resumes to get some traction to get that job. So when you combine the job filtering tool at LinkedIn and the connection part and the networking part, we're really going to move the odds in your favor to get that next job. So are we ready to filter? So I think you can see up here at the top of my LinkedIn profile, and you can get to the job search tool from any place on LinkedIn. So I could go to my timeline and I could still go to this icon right here, and you can see it as as I hover over it, right? It turns bold and you can see the word job underneath. Now, interestingly, when I click on this tool, it's still bold, and the flap of the briefcase opens up, and that is telling you that you are now in the job search area. So, Justice, my screen has changed a little bit. Could you give me a job title and a location that we could use?
Yes, hold on one quick second. Justice was able to just popped off. But the first person mentioned a director program manager in Chicago.
Okay, I'm writing this down and I'm going to type it in Chicago. Okay, let's start there. So let's say director, and now you can all see my spelling, program management. So why don't we start there, okay? So we're starting with this title, and in the United States, can you see that there are over 206,000 results? Well, that's great for you, whoever submitted that, because there are a lot of opportunities out there. We're actually going to keep it United States, and then we're going to change it later on to Chicago, but I just want to keep it as broad as possible. And I'm going to stop for a minute because this might be a great time for some of you, instead of watching what I'm doing, pulling up your LinkedIn at this point and putting in your own titles and your own locations, or keeping it United States and walking this journey with me. So I'll give you a second to do that if anybody's interested. And what we'll find when we start really narrowing down and using these filters, we're going to go from about 206,000 to probably 200, maybe even less, of potential jobs. And again, we're going to really filter out all those irrelevant job postings that don't really align with what you're looking for or align very closely with your skill set. And I think you're going to find this to be a game changer for you. So we have our jobs, and we're going to move our cursor right over to the very end to the right and click on all filters. Okay. So with that, we start with sort by either most recent or most relevant. And I recommend always most relevant. It's the default, because we want to get away from all those potential vague jobs that really just don't align, and it's very frustrating. So let's go with most relevant. And then it defaults to any time. But the problem with any time dates is that they're called evergreen positions, which means that a job that's posted at any time tends to be a job with a very high turnover, or the company never turns it off and they always are looking. So you may be applying for that position where they don't really need as many people compared to maybe a time that they have a lot of openings for that. So let's start with the past month. So we could already tell we went from 200,000 to 162,000. So we've already filtered some out. And then we moved to experience level. And a lot of my clients ask me this question. I'm not quite sure my experience level, right? I'm not an intern, I'm not entry level, but I'm not sure I'm an executive, though I would like to be. So what does that look like? Well, here's kind of the LinkedIn guesstimation. For an entry-level position, it's really between 0 and 2 years of employment. An associate position is about 3 to 5 years. Mid-senior is about 5+ years. Director, well, that's considered about 6 to 8 years. An executive, 10+ years. But I'm going to tell you what I tell my clients, because today you are my client. Don't put yourself in a box. Go ahead and click on that stretch job title a little bit higher up, just a little bit, and let's see what occurs. So I'm going to assume that the person out there is a mid-senior level, and now we're down to 50,000. So we went from 206,000, now we're at 50,000, but that's still way too many. And you know what? We're going to also click on director. We're going to stretch a little bit. So after we pick our experience level, then we can pick our companies. And here's the thing. This is solely based upon my profile and what's in the back end of my information. So even though we might all have director program management in the United States, these companies may look different to you than for me. So it's just based on such particular criteria. But here's the thing. Remember when I told you about how in research you should have 7 to 10 companies that you've identified where you want to work, be a good fit to you? Now, here is where you can add them. So let's say, let's see, program management. I'd love to work for Disney. And no, I don't work for Disney, and I don't get any benefit from naming them, obviously. And I love chocolate, so I'm going to go with Hershey, the Hershey Company. And I have always wanted to work for Facebook. So I'm going to put Meta. So now we're down to 122 results. And that's just because with all the filtering we've done so far, we're using this title with the appropriate experience level. And now it's only looking at these 3 companies, not all of them. So if I want to open it back up and have more opportunities, I'm back now to 60,000 results. However, it's really good to note that if you're currently happily employed, but there are some companies that you would love to work for, you can simply add them here. They have to be in the database for LinkedIn, and then leave them clicked on, because I always would want to work for Disney. If I wasn't working at Vida, where I would love to work for Disney. And there are 116 results, and I'm going to leave that there in hopes that Disney sometimes will have something come available that I'd be interested in. So that's how you enter companies, add companies, look at companies. And now we're going to talk about job type, right? So this is pretty much self-explanatory: full-time, part-time, temporary, contract, volunteer. Perhaps all you want to do is volunteer. Here's your opportunity. It takes you down to 15 results. Internship and other. And quite frankly, I can't figure out what other is. I've talked to some of my colleagues. We're not quite sure. So we always just leave that open. So you can, if you're open to any kind of employment, you can just not click any box. However, most of us just really want full-time. So we're going to click that box, and now we're down to 60,000 results. And now we're looking at on-site and remote. So this will change a little bit. We'll play with this, because for right now, we're going to say we want to work anywhere in the United States. So we're willing to relocate. So we're willing to go on-site anywhere in the United States. However, we would change this if we just wanted Chicago. We would change this up here. But we also want to consider hybrid, because we will relocate and work remote and on-site, and then, of course, remote. We're still at 60,000. So here's something, the easy apply button. What does that mean? Should you use it or not? Well, this makes the application very fast and easy. And it's for companies who are willing to accept this application process for potential employees. So you can click that on. It will show you only the companies that will accept this easy apply, which means the recruiter is going to see just a snapshot of your LinkedIn profile and some basic information. Now, you do have the opportunity to include a resume, but most people, if they include a resume, they're not customizing it to the job like we would normally suggest that you do. You're just sending a generic resume, and you're clicking on that easy apply so they can see, your LinkedIn profile snapshot. Why would you do this? What benefit is there? Well, there is. So let's say that you have a really high sense of urgency of getting that new job. You really have to get going. Well, here's an opportunity that it may not be your dream job, but you could do, you would do it. So you're not going to spend that much time with it, but you're going to apply. So not only are you working on those customized resumes for those jobs that you're really looking for, you can apply to these as well. You don't have to spend any time. Or maybe you work long hours and you just don't have the time to apply for positions. So you're going to check the easy apply button. So when you have a robust and fantastic LinkedIn profile, you may say, that's all I need. I don't need a resume. And that's all they're going to see. And you don't even include a resume. So those are the reasons why you might want to go ahead and click on the easy apply. And now we're down to 7,000 results. And those are only the companies that you'll see that will accept this easy apply. So hope I answered questions about that. Okay, so as my client, like every other client I have, this is where I stop because we've talked about so much. And I'm going to ask you what I ask all my other clients. How are you doing so far? Is this interesting? Are you learning anything? And most importantly, are we having fun yet? And if we are, go ahead and put into the chat box, yes, no, whatever. Let us know how you're doing because this webinar is for you. So we've taken a break. Let's get back to it. So let's talk about location. So interesting enough, my location isn't one of these based upon my profile. So here, if you're in Chicago, Illinois, we do have that. Let's click it. Now we're down to 1,000 results because we are not going to relocate, but we are still interested in on-site, hybrid, or remote position. And that remote position most likely will be around the Chicago area. So if you want to maintain a remote position, you can click off on-site hybrid. And now you have 12,000 results for any place that has a remote position across the United States. But we're going to focus it on Chicago. So now we're down to 1,000, right? Because the others just too many. And then now we're at industry. And based upon your profile and your jobs title search, LinkedIn will suggest industries for you to consider. They're thinking for you, essentially. If you do not see an industry that you're interested in, add your own. And you can add it right here. Again, this industry has to be within their database. But if I'm a program director, perhaps I'm a program director for a law firm, and I would add, let's see if they would take it, law enforcement, law practice. So I can be really specific. There's 9 results, interestingly, but I'm going to leave it open. But you can add industries, the food industry, we have hospitals. They try to get the major industries, but please add your own. And then job function. This isn't job title. This is job function. So you can be a director of programs, but perhaps you also are doing project management, which is 294 results, management, 422. Let's say information technology. Oh, that makes us go even higher. So let's just stay with management and project management. And then we have job title. Again, this is where you can add you can use the job titles here. This is what the algorithm is thinking for you: project manager, manager, operations assistant. However, you cannot add any other job titles. You have to go up to the very top and change the job title up here. So if you add a job title, it's going to be included with this director program management. It's not going to supersede it. Okay, here's some other buttons that a lot of people don't know why they're there or what they do. So let's talk about it. Under 10 applicants, this allows you, when you turn it on, to filter jobs. So you're only looking at companies that have currently under 10 applicants applying for the position. So why is that a benefit to you? Some people think it's a turnoff, right? Well, if there's not many people applying, maybe it's not a good job. But no, that's not always the reason. In fact, rarely is it a reason. So perhaps you've been applying to a lot of jobs. Remember, we talked about for any job from a Fortune 500 company, over 200 people may apply, and a lot of people don't get any responses. So if you're having trouble getting traction and getting people to respond to your submission, maybe start with a company that has very few job applicants, and then perhaps you'll get a better response rate, right? So this is really great for people who are new graduates, and it's really great for people who aren't getting traction and who may have a large gap of time in their employment, and maybe have taken some time off to have kids or to do something else, and they feel that they may not be as competitive in the market as people who've been working consistently during this time. That's why people use this filter. And then the next filter is in your network. I've talked so much about network. Remember, we were on the LinkedIn profile, and I talked to about 500 plus and second degree. This is where you can really start with, okay, I'm going to only use the backdoor approach. So I only want to look at companies who are looking for candidates who I have a connection to. It's probably going to be an alumni. It's going to be a former colleague. But I'm going to start there because I'm going to reach out to people. That's why you would use that. Now, if you don't click on that, you're going to get that same result anyway, but you're going to get that in part of a larger result base. And then lastly is the fair chance employer. This really applies to a small subgroup of people, but it's also very important. This allows an individual to filter the job for employers who actively pledge interest in hiring someone with a criminal record. And just about every job application we go through, there's always that question: do you have a criminal record? Have you been convicted of a crime? And when you put yes, many people feel that they're not going to be called back or recruited for the position. So this is where you can really set your filter on only those companies who have made this pledge. Okay, I told you before, salary is really important to me for my clients. So let's really think about this. So you may have decided on what kind of title, right? Maybe it was mid-senior management, maybe it was director, maybe it was executive, but this is where you can filter it more. But you need to understand what this filter means. First of all, you can only choose one. You can't choose multiple. So choose the lowest salary amount that you're willing to accept, right? So let's just say, I believe I don't want anything less than 120,000. So there are 49 results, and I'm good with that because I don't want to take any less than that. But please know that this result is based upon either the company promoting that amount, publishing it in the job post, or it's from a salary insight feature that LinkedIn has. And it's not based upon anything except user and market submitted data. So this is only an estimation. Unless you see it published by the company, it's an estimation. And one of my clients told me that she felt the filter was off about $100,000. less than what the company was willing to pay her. So don't let the salary negate you applying for that position, because it could be much higher. It's just a guesstimation. And then, of course, benefits. Remember when we had all those different types of employment, contract employment, temporary employment, you can click on those if you're really looking for that, but you can also then say, but I'd like to have medical benefits. I'd like to have that paid paternity leave. So let's say, I think we clicked on full-time employment, and we definitely want medical benefits. Now we're only down to 9 results. Or we definitely want a 401k. We're down to 6. So I'm going to say that we're open. We don't need medical benefits, and we're still at 49. So now we've come to the end of the filtering, right? And now we're going to click on our results. And you can see up here, gives us an idea of what results, what filters we chose. And then we really start to review the jobs on the left-hand side of the screen, Senior Technical Program Manager, right? But here's where I ask you to not get discouraged, because it really takes some time to use those filters efficiently and filter out over and over again what you do want, what you don't want, to find that right mix, kind of like a great recipe. Once you find it, and these look really appropriate to what you're looking for, then you can set the alert, and then you're notified for only those jobs that you feel best aligned with what you're looking for. Now, with that said, let's use the networking tool. So LinkedIn is telling you here, oh my gosh, you have one alumni that works there. Reach out to them. It also says, look, only 19 people applied. So if you're having a hard time getting people to respond, you might get a good response based upon this. Excuse me. Here, there are 481 alumni working at Amazon Web Services. Obviously, it doesn't tell you how many people applied, like one applicant. So there are probably a lot of applicants there. But usually I look through and I try to find somebody that I have an actual connection to, and then I would reach out to that person. So that's where you're using the backdoor approach. After you've filtered, you've got this small subset of opportunities, and then you're going to go forth and try to connect with someone so they'll accept your resume, send it to the hiring person, and you can move your job search along quickly. So, okay. We've talked about a lot of aspects of the job search filter and LinkedIn. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate your patience and listening to what I had to say. And I really hope that it's helped you use LinkedIn to your advantage. And so my question to you is, did I achieve my goal? Did I educate you? Did I help you move your needle in the direction towards an enhanced job search? And did you have fun? So I hope that answer to all of them is yes. So Justice, I am finishing up here. I know that you had a couple things you wanted to add, and I'm going to click off my sharing screen.
Yes, thank you so much, Lisa, for that lovely presentation. Real quick, while we have you, would you like to touch on some of the other areas that you like to coach on in your sessions and the types of clients you'd like to serve here?
Thank you. I really like to have diverse clients, from new graduates to people who haven't been in the job field for a while and are wanting to get back in, to people who are really looking to move up in their career and really want that coaching available so they can decide how to do it, create a strategy. So that's what I love to do. That's my core group. I love working with everybody, but I really like helping people plan their path. Once we get them to the interview stage, I'm going to tell you again, I love working with salary negotiation because I feel so good when my clients can get a little bit more and get what they're worth. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much. And if anyone is interested in continuing a conversation further, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to my calendar once again, if you do have interest in coming to a meeting, as well as our website. So you can go and read a little bit more about Lisa and the company as a whole. And then just a reminder, anybody who does come to us from a webinar, you get your first session free. So something to consider when you are budgeting through there. And then additionally, I'm going to post the link to our YouTube channel as well as our Eventbrite. The YouTube channel is where you can see previously recorded webinars, and the Eventbrite is where you can see the upcoming ones that we have scheduled through, I think, up to October. So with all of that being said, we're going to open it up for a little bit of Q&A here at the end. So we do invite anybody who is comfortable to come off of mute and or on camera to ask Lisa a question directly, but also feel free to write your questions in the chat and we can go through there and read through those. So please, the floor is open to anyone who would like to utilize this time.
And while
Lisa, go ahead.
I was just going to say, while we're waiting, probably the backdoor method is something that a lot of people don't know about, but I'm hoping that those of you today have that leg up and can use that and really, help you compete against other people searching for the same job. So I hope that was helpful in particular.
Lisa, what was it that sparked your interest in LinkedIn?
Well, because it's so huge and it's so robust, and over 800 million people are on LinkedIn, right? They have a presence in some way. And if you don't use that as a platform, I think you're really going to be behind in terms of getting that next opportunity. And it's all about opportunity, right? Having people see you out there, making connections, growing and thriving within your career. And so that's actually why I'm a career coach as well. And I see LinkedIn as a very useful tool.
Hi, Lisa, my name is Ashley. I have a question for you in terms of LinkedIn. I obviously see it as a brand tool for myself in terms of elevating, putting myself being, I guess my personal challenge is it's another to-do list in terms of all the other social media platforms that we have out there. So if I were to do what I need to in terms of updating my profile, I've done most of that, just have to update to my current job because I'm looking for something else now. So do we prioritize obviously updating all of our content in that capacity? Do you think it's important to be more active in likes and posts and sharing and things like that? Do you think that does any bump or increase kind of to your brand profile for recruiters, or just really focus on the content and making sure that's 110%?
I'm so glad you asked that, Ashley. So you've got some great questions. It is another thing you have to do if you're looking for a job, is to, what I say, kind of update your LinkedIn and kind of keep it consistently managed. LinkedIn will actually reward you for engaging with the platform, right? Because they don't want a bunch of people signing up and that 20 years ago and not doing anything. So yes, this is what recruiters look at. First of all, is everything updated? Can they find you? And that really goes back to the keywords. But then are you posting? Because recruiters feel that you're more apt to respond to them if you're active on LinkedIn. They don't really reach out to people if they haven't been active for about 2 years, right? Because they just think that they're going to be wasting their time. So as you're looking, engage with LinkedIn, post. And what I tell people is first, just then like and comment on people on your timeline. And then if you really want to have the most engagement, just repost perhaps your prior company's information or someone else's post.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And then we did have a couple questions written down. Miroslav says, I typed what you entered and I got different number 202849. Is that because I have the free version?
Okay, so I'm going to ask you I'm looking at the chat. Can you say that one more time?
Yes, give me one second. Scroll back to where it was. Unless Miroslav, if you're here and you would like to clarify, that would be fantastic.
Yes, would you mind coming off mute and talking to us directly? I would love to hear what you mean.
So initially, when you entered the number and you said program manager in Chicago, I was following you and I kept on getting different numbers. You had a higher number and I was wondering if that's because I have the free version of LinkedIn. And I did not get the same jobs. So when you were doing it, and like I said, I was following, it was not the same.
You're exactly right. So first of all, I have the free version too. So it's not because I have the premium version. We have the same. Secondly, it has to do with that algorithm portion, right? Where I'm located, how many connections I have, all of that comes into play in terms of, so mine will always be different than yours because it's so specific to all your professional information that you have listed. So I rarely, when I do this with my other clients, we rarely have the same results, the number of results, and or the different locations. If you're on the West Coast, a lot of times you'll just have West Coast cities. So it's definitely different.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another question. This one says, where did it go? There's the chat box. It says, what is the link for your Slack channel? We can absolutely get that sent over to Scott. Another question says, I heard you have to apply to 100 jobs to get 10 interviews. Is that true?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes, but again, if you are if you're submitting a resume and then you're finding people on LinkedIn that you can reach out to, hopefully it'll be half of that. But depending on your job title and the industry and the kind of candidates out there, yes, could be.
So this is Phil again. I have another question. So there is a difference in what I notice on LinkedIn, even from yours to how I have it. So I have my full resume on LinkedIn, right? But when I look at yours, you don't have that much description on each of your jobs. So which one is the right way?
If you take the bullet points from your job description, from your resume, and insert it into your LinkedIn, is that how you've done it?
Yes.
That's the right way. Marisol, you've done it the right way. You can do it anyway, but yes, that's the best way.
Okay, because I feel like maybe it's too much or too wordy when I look at other people's like yours. And there's not,
those bullet points really help with the keywords. The more keywords you have over and over again, it's just like optimizing a website. It's really going to optimize your profile and people can find you easier. So I always recommend literally copy and pasting the job bullets from your resume to your LinkedIn profile. So you're doing it absolutely right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any more questions for Jaimin? Thank you to everyone who's throwing your LinkedIn's in the chat. Feel free to connect with us. I dropped mine and I also dropped Lisa's. We'd love to reconnect with all of you. And then additionally, as we mentioned, this is recorded and will be sent out so you can go back and watch through it whenever you need. It will also be on our YouTube channel. But if that is all the questions that we have today, Lisa, any parting words for the day?
So, I've been really focusing on connections. And thank you, Justice, so much for including our LinkedIn profile URLs, because if you are nervous about getting started and creating that network, start with me, because I will be happy to accept any of your connection requests. And I bet, Justice, you're the same way, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So please do. But thank you all. Thank you all for coming today and listening. And I hope you have a wonderful day and good luck on your job search. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. We look forward to seeing you at a future event.